In this video, I'm going to show you how to get SMOL AGI to develop large-scale applications without crashing and successfully generate your codebase without errors. SMOL is a powerful AGI-like tool for developing applications via given prompts. It is extremely powerful when you get it to work. This video will cover how to fix the issue of it crashing when building large apps, and I will provide you with the code to fix it as well as instructions on how to properly command it to develop a large-scale application.
So today we're talking about a AI, well, basically an AGI that this guy Swizio has built, and it's called SMOL AI. And basically what it does is generates apps for you, or gets them to a really close point of being done. I'd say 90% of the way. And ultimately, I've played around with it, and immediately I started, oh, by the way, it's MIT license. I ran into issues where it was shutting down, and that was because I'm trying to build a rather complex app. Now, I've seen Swizio do this and actually build out apps. If you can click around and find his videos, you'll see that it does work. But the issue that I ran into is that I was creating a rather complex app. So I'm going to give you a little bit of guidance on how to get this to work, and then show you what it's generated and that it is working. Basically, with a few clicks and a little bit of commands, you can have this thing running and generating pretty much every file you need for your whole system to get up and going. Depending on whatever kind of app you're building, it doesn't really matter. So in my case, I created this prompt MD file, and what you should do is get it to read your prompt from this file, because then it can be super long. And what I did is I broke down a very comprehensive instruction of what it is that I was trying to build, and then I used ChatGPT to help me come up with all the sort of components and whatnot that this is going to need, this app. And the more detail you give it, the better, because it's going to go in there and make sure that it's creating all these elements of your app by recursively checking this consistently. Okay. And so the more detailed you can make this, the better. So I gave it all the steps that I wanted it to do. And then what I did was gave it an overview of exactly what I wanted it to do. More of a natural language way. Okay. So what I was running into was the fact that it would crash out. And it's kind of a deceptive crash, because when you get it, you think it's doing one thing, but it's actually doing another. So basically, if you start seeing all this red text come up, and you guys can go back and see how to run it through Swizio's video. This is more of an advanced look at this, okay? So if you start getting these errors, what's happening is that you're calling too many times to the Open API, all right? And you're exceeding the rate limits. So I'll give you my code in the description, okay? The updated code that makes this work. Basically what I've done is I added a few lines here to add proper delays in your API calls. Because what happens if you're building a very simple app, it'll work just fine. But once you're building a very complex app that has all kinds of features, it's going to run all these requests like parallel, like synchronously to the API. And so what happens is you get it times out. Well, it doesn't time out, it clocks out. And so it looks like, if you scroll down here, if you're checking your logs, right, it looks like what happened is, sorry guys, this stopped working, okay? So it says, it gives you this. Could not deserialize remote exception due to local area, right? And then it says, this is it. So at first I thought this wasn't running. So I like install it over and over, blah, blah, blah. But then I come to realize this happens to do with like all the calls that you're making, okay? All the time. So with my code, copy my code and use it in the description there, and replace the author's code with that in the main Python file, okay? And so then I ran it, and guys, this is incredible, I'm telling you. Once I had added this delay so that it doesn't exceed 200 API calls in a minute, it went through, documented everything, and then it recursively checks this, okay? And then it created all these files, and none of the code has any errors in it too, okay? So this is concatenated, right? It's actually going into that prompt MD file that we created, okay? And it's creating all this, okay? So here, this is it starting to create the files, okay? I'm pretty sure this is this is the styles, okay? Blah 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 blah. It goes on and on and on and on and on and on. And like I've tried every AGI out there, okay? Auto GPT, baby AGI, everything. This one's working so far so good. If we could incorporate this with a tree of thoughts, it would probably reach AGI in my opinion. And then add some like pinecone vector store for like long-term memory. Man, this would be beast mode. So anyway, I'll quickly go look at the files that I created, and then I'll show you how to run this. Okay, so here's what it generated. You go under the generated folder, okay? And then you can see this source. This is the final thing, okay? It'll say it took 40 minutes with my delay that I added. It's going a lot faster than that before. Oh, and by the way, this is expensive, okay? Super expensive to run. Cost me like $9.56 US, so I don't know. That's probably like 20 Canadian dollar / pesos. Okay, so yeah, what was I talking about? Okay, let's look at what it generated. Okay, so let's go in here. So under the source, you'll see here's that main app. Okay, this is a complex website, guys. It's basically using what it is it's a firearms trading website. Okay, so you can sell your used firearms in Canada. Okay, and it's complicated what we got to build into there. So here's all the components. Okay, look at this back end. I don't want to show you that. Whatever. This is the Auth0. Okay, look here. Okay, for the authorization, login, multi-factor authentication, sign up. It's bonkers. It's bonkers. Okay, here's the chat system I requested. Okay, so basically what this does is it builds all the code. Like if you were to hand it off to a junior developer, okay, this would get you the ball rolling extremely far. Here's me tying into the Mongoose database. Okay, this is our schema for the products. Okay, here's a transaction model. Okay, user model. It's unreal. Featured listings. These are just like forms and stuff. Local pickup. Blah 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 blah. It goes on and on. It's unreal. And the code is good. It's actually really good. Styles, right? Look at this. It's 186 lines. So yeah, how you get this all running is let me see I remember. Make sure you got your environment file set up there, okay? And then let's just look at the README here quick. Read through all of this. That'll help you a lot. But basically, let's go to the install. So when it's super fresh, I'm running PyCharm, by the way, for my IDE. So clone it. I'll leave a link to his original in the description. Fix your environment file. So basically what you're going to do is put your open API key in there. And if you have a Clode API, then use that as well. I can't remember the name of the makers of Clode. Just look it up. Look up Clode AI. You can use 100,000 tokens in one call. It's super, super powerful. Oh, and the other thing is that you're going to have to create a, what's it called? Modal. Okay, it uses modal. This is super important. You're going to have to go and create a modal account. Okay, so if you look at my apps back here, just to prove that this is working, look at this is the files that this created. Okay, look at this. This is unreal. I've gotten pretty far with Auto GPT, but what happens is it starts hallucinating and it just goes down crazy paths. And if you're ever running Auto GPT, just on a side note, Make sure that you keep it in a box, because I've let it have complete control over my computer and it's a nightmare. It'll start sending emails on your behalf and everything. I'm not joking. Where are we at? Let's go back. Sorry, I'm bouncing around so much. Okay, so we're talking about installing this. So go ahead and clone it, set up your environment file, set up a modal account, because that's going to be part of getting this running. So set up your modal account, but set it up through your GitHub, and then everything will just magically work. Trust me. And then go ahead and pip install modal and client. Now, depending on your IDE, if you look at your main Python, you might get this, okay, this error. That's just because this modal's super new, but it'll still work just fine, okay? We're going back to README here. Yeah, so do that, install that, and then do this pip install dash requirements text. So just copy paste that into your terminal, okay? Make sure you're in your right folder and run all that. And then instead of running this, here's the secret sauce, okay? You're going to copy paste that, but instead of running your prompt here, you want it to look at that, you want it to look at your prompt.md, your markdown file, okay? So how you're going to do that is you type it like, oh crap. Yeah, so run this. You see where my cursor is? Run this modal run main.py -- prompt, and then it's going to look in this. So if you run that, if I hit enter right now, it'll go ahead and look at my prompt.md, okay? Now the great thing about this, and something you got to wrap your head around, is that you can continuously run this and say go in here and just like make some changes to your document, and you could say add whatever here, and then when you run it, it's going to go and add that to your project. So that's super cool. But yeah, check it out, guys. Don't forget that it's a little bit expensive to run. This is the project here. Super, super cool. Very powerful. Be patient and use my code to run it continuously. Cheers.